Is it? Is he Chicago?
Good evening, everybody. If you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance.
Okay, Missy, can we get roll call, please? Here.
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 Here. We have a quorum. Okay, I need to get a motion for approval of the meeting agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting agenda for tonight.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we need a approval for the minutes for August 5th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for August 5th, 2024.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Introduction, that would be Missy.
This is my microphone on. My new deputy clerk, Adriana Krueger, and she joins us from Georgia. She is recently moved here in July.
Oh, new, real
Yeah.
new. Yeah,
And she's going to be a great addition to the team. We're very excited.
Great.
Welcome.
glad to have you. Welcome. And then we also have a new police officer, Patrick.
We do. Dylan, if you could come up, please. Prepare your speech. To the mic. This is Dylan Grimm. We just finished up a hiring process and Dylan came in first in our hiring process. He's been approved by the police commission. He went to the ILEA this morning to do his PT test for his entrance exam and passed that. He will start the academy next Monday. But this is Dylan Grimm. And if Dylan, you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I'm Dylan Grimm. I attended Indiana State University down in Terre Haute. Wanted to be a police officer for a long time now. Very excited to be a part of this community and, protect and serve this community. So I appreciate everything, and if I can do anything for anyone, just let me know or anything. So I appreciate it and thank you all very much.
Glad to have you.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks for standing up there in front of everyone. I know that's hard. Next up, we have Beth, from Bookkeeping Plus for our budget proposal.
So. All of you were at the budget workshop, which is great. Just want to sort of go over the whole thing just as an overview. One of the things when we were in this workshop, we had some areas we're looking for cutting, just to give you to know, I was able to cut everything, get us in line with budget, and we're under budget now, so with what our revenues come in, so.
Great.
To do that, so basically on the general budget, it's an increase of 5.8%, which the employees are at 3%. We base the health insurance off of 15 increase, which we're hoping obviously will come in less, but we just want to be conservative. Overall expenses for the most part, are 3%. And then as far as equipment, we have one police vehicle. We budgeted for a police drone. And the officers, we had 2 officers, but they're the ones that we still have not hired from this year, so we'll still have those. There are 2, we have other vehicles that are gonna be purchased out of another fund that is not levied, so Pat, don't worry, it's not just this one vehicle. And then local road and street, we just budget 50,000 in there. There's no change over the prior year. MVH, motor vehicle highway. We did add 1 new employee there. Same thing, all health insurance is the same across. Same way with expenses. The one thing here, it shows the budget increases of about 28%. The problem is we had a lot of equipment in last year that we're not able to get purchased this year, and they're not going to be able to be encumbered and have POs necessarily. So we had to roll them into this year's budget. If we are able to, that means we just won't be purchasing them from this year's budget. There are a few new things, but it's a little misleading. It's not necessarily that quite large of an increase. And in the park, you'll notice is only like 3.48. We did a lot of things last year. And this year we've got our capital portion is down. We still have capital in there for some restrooms, things that are planned, for I guess the basketball and tennis courts. There nothing new with pretty much everything else remains the same as far as that. And then our cumulative capital development, which we refer to as CCD, there's no change in that. So pretty much everything else is pretty much the same. Again, the overall budget was up 25.8, but again, most of that's from the MVH, which again is a little misleading. So like I said, we were able to get everything in there that we discussed in our workshop. And we're in good shape. Found a little bit of extra revenue when I met with DLGF last Friday, so that also helped assist with that. So really, I feel like the budget looks great as far as where we are and moving forward. Did anyone, after they reviewed anything, have any specific questions for me?
I'm just glad we were able to find it.
Yep. Just to let you know, we have our public hearing, which will be September 16th for the budget. Our budget approval will be on October 21st. And then I had also mentioned on the park, because I had been conserving cash for the last couple of years and we had the large purchase this year, we will have an additional appropriation for park for 75,000, which is in the budget as far as in the totals for what we have to submit. I will do that for the October. We'll do the public hearing and then we can do the approval right after the meeting is open back up for that. So we'll be doing that and I'll get the information over to Missy for advertising. Anything else?
I have nothing. Anybody have anything for Beth?
My job.
We're good. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Beth.
Okay. Next, we have Chamber of Commerce merger, Retta Livengood, President of the Greenfield Area Chamber.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me a couple of minutes to speak with you. Last November, we were approached by some remaining board members of the Northern Hancock Area Chamber of Commerce, asking to merge with our Greenfield Area Chamber of Commerce. We had both boards vote on that, and as of May of this year, we are proceeding on that effort. I would venture a guess that about half of the chambers in the state of Indiana are countywide chambers. So We're extremely excited about this opportunity. I don't believe you all have had a lot of chamber representation in probably the last 3 to 4 years. So we are planning some open houses in Fortville and McCordsville to allow people to get to know us as your chamber staff. We've had 20 meetings and/or text exchanged about this. We've had face-to-face with Joe. We've met with Milda with Fortville Action. We've met with all 4 school superintendents in Hancock County, other town managers. We're trying to be very transparent about this effort. I don't know if you know much about chambers of commerce. New Palestine does still have a chamber. They will continue to have their own chamber. We will include and invite them to participate in any and everything we do. Main reason people join a chamber is for networking and for marketing. We feel like we can really bring some value to that situation for Fortville and McCordsville, as well as the entire county. Happy to move ahead in this chaotic time for us as a chamber. We've been around since 1951. We do hold monthly membership luncheons in Greenfield, and we average 85 to 100 people at those luncheons. So that's what we're hoping to bring, is perhaps some before hours luncheons and after hours events here to Fortville to help the businesses. Obviously, you've got some construction things going on. So hopefully if we can get up to speed with things, that we can help with that when the roads are eventually opened. Any questions? I'd be happy to entertain.
That's great. I'm just glad we've got somebody now that can maybe help with some of that.
We're pretty glad
Yeah.
about it too.
Yeah.
I've been with the chamber 15 years, so I'm
Good.
excited about the new chapter for Hancock County. With the fastest growing county in the state of Indiana, we need the attention that I think a chamber can help bring to our area businesses and organizations.
I agree. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? You'll be hearing and seeing a lot from us. We will try to include you. If we have a ribbon cutting coming up, I will send the invitation to include you all to participate in that if you want to. I will make sure that you're starting to receive our weekly emailed newsletter that goes out to over 2,300 email addresses so people can keep informed about things that are going on.
That'd be great.
So please do not hesitate to reach out to me if we can help in any way. All right? Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
If that's all right. I just don't know very much about chambers of commerce, and I was just curious, is this something that our, town tax money pays into, or is it just completely separate? And what benefit will come to Fortville because of the merger?
We are a
relatively?
membership organization, so
Okay.
any business who's a member of our organization pays an annual membership investment. Right now, that can range anywhere from $195 if you're a smaller business, up to several thousands of dollars for the larger. We do have folks like Hancock Health, Nine Star Connect, GBC Bank. Those folks are trustee members of our chamber. And a chamber's main purpose is really the networking and the marketing piece. So those are the two things that in my mind we can bring to Fortville to help. So I'm not coming here tonight asking you for money, which I'm sure is unusual for most people coming to speak before you. May come back in the future and ask for that, but right now I'm not. We are grandfathering in anybody who is a member of the Fortville Northern Hancock Area Chamber of Commerce. We're grandfathering them in, so their membership will not cost them anything until January of next year, when we send out invoices to renew everybody. And again, our hope is during those open houses for people to meet us, to ask those questions of basically what's in it for me? Why should I join the chamber? What benefit am I going to get? If for $195 a year, you can market to over 2,300 email addresses every week, sounds like a good deal to me. So that, and then again, if we build those networking opportunities with either before hours, luncheon, or after hours, networking is a huge connector for everybody. So those are things we feel like we bring to the table.
Oh, thank
Did that
you.
answer? If I ask a room
Yeah.
full of questions or a room full of people what a chamber is, I would get a room full of answers because people don't really know what we are. Our mission is to partner for prosperity. So we work with our schools, partnering with the businesses, internships, those kinds of things. We partner hopefully with local government and with our members.
Right, that's helpful. Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't even sure how it even works, so that was a great explanation. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, stay tuned. You'll be hearing a lot from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we have council to consider ordinance 2024-8A, I believe. Amending and restating the speed limit schedule.
Okay. What we've done is we've looked at our speed limits and our speed limit ordinance, and with Fortville Pike coming in from the south with the new construction that's going on, the trail coming through there, the new traffic light, the speed at 40 mile an hour just north of the traffic light there at 200 just seems a little fast. And then it slams right down to 30. So what I prepared for you this evening to consider, you can see everything that I've got marked up in red. As far as coming in from 234, that road's a little bit more convoluted because part of it's in town, part of it's in the county, and then part of it's in town and back and forth. The county speed limit down through there is 50, starting at 234. So the way that I worded this was, so it would continue to be 50 mile an hour from 850 north, south to the town limits. And then somewhere in there, it picks up as Park County. So that 50 mile an hour would go from 234 to 850. And then from 850 to 950, it would drop down to 45. And then when you get to 950 north, then it drops down to 30 mile an hour. Anytime we drop the speed 15 mile an hour, we have to put advance warning or reduce speed ahead, just so it's not considered a speed trap. So we'll have to install some additional signs out there for that.
Hey, Joe,
Yes.
Are these areas or these changes inside what they call an urban district? And that's defined as basically construction,
Yeah, we discussed that earlier as far as the amount of homes within
the two, yeah,
yeah,
so that we don't need a traffic study in order to
Correct.
decrease.
correct.
Okay. So these are in an urban district.
Yeah, I would consider it to be, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, the biggest change on here is mainly just aligning up the speed limit from block to block on the roads. But the biggest one is dropping it to 30 mile an hour, starting at 2 west, which there's houses along both sides up through there. So. Any questions?
So it's basically from the stoplight north to the next stoplight, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. 30
Well, no,
miles
when
an
it
hour.
gets to Garden, it drops to
Then it drops to
25.
25, right, okay, yeah.
How many questions are looking for a motion?
Any
Any question?
public
No.
questions or anything? No. Any-
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-8A. Amending and restating the speed limit schedule.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. That'll be on your
Carries.
next agenda for second reading.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Okay, old business. Council to consider requests for proposals for the use of the Fortville Community Center Gym. That would be heat, right?
Evening, Council. Heath Luther, Parks Manager. As you guys know, the proposal was put in the newspaper, Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
It's been running since. We've got one. Have not opened it. I don't know what procedure is for this as far as.
Open it up.
Pull your mic up a little bit, but
Front side of it is, sorry, Indy Sharks. That is the proposal we received. I'm not sure what information we're looking for here. I'm sure a contract still has to be put in place,
Right.
but I'm gonna guess at this point in time, it's a matter of whether or not we want to move forward with that contract based on this.
Right, and you're right. I mean, if you're looking at it, if it appears to be that their proposal matches up with what you expected and seems reasonable, then I think the ask would be for the council to accept that proposal and empower you to work with me and Joe to work on a lease and finalize the agreement.
Would you guys as a council like me to read this?
Sure.
Okay. Dated I'm sorry. Yeah, dated 8/29/24. Proposal for lease of Fortville Community Center, Deertown Council. I'm Jason Tallman, owner operator of Jason Tallman LLC Indy Sharks Baseball. And I'm writing to propose a usage of the Fortville Community Center as a baseball training facility. The community center has a great location, increase local youth participation in the game of baseball. It is our intention to work towards that from that end from the start. I have over 25 years of experience working in, with, and owning and operating baseball training facilities. All my coaches have training or experience as educators alongside extensive histories of coaching and playing experience at the high school and collegiate level, as well as the professional levels. Our experience working with youth athletics is wide ranging, and we will have a positive impact on local baseball players in the community. The Indy Sharks have over 200 participants as members of baseball teams, with an additional 100 or so that participate in our training programs. To have that opportunity to train them at the high level requires a significant amount of time. Therefore, we are requesting continuous access to the facility throughout the year. The lease details are $42.50 monthly, and it is initially a 12-month lease. I have over 15 years experience leasing various facilities. I understand the importance of upkeep and maintenance and can provide the landlord references and or tax return information showing the history of payment, rent. I've had discussions about this and have come up with an agreement regarding the logistics of the facility. My LLC is insured through American Specialty Insurance with the requested 1 million and 5 million coverage. For the town of Fortville will be listed as additionally insured. In addition to our teams also carry their own individual liability insurance. So we have double coverage if any situation would arise. I will attach a copy of our current policy through Jason Tallman LLC for reference. The Fortville Community Center has unique qualities which will allow local youth to experience excellent player development opportunities and the joy of playing baseball. I'm requesting to outfit the gym space with items provided by me to include artificial turf, 7 batting cages, portable pitching mounts. The turf would be used to protect the current gym flooring space. The cages would be hung with 1/8 inch aircraft cable and secured to each wall. This agreement can also positively impact the local economy by driving visitors from the surrounding area of Fishers, Lawrence, Pendleton, etc. Parents will be looking for places to eat and shop in Fortville while their kids are working out. I look forward to this partnership, and I'm excited to get started.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You said it was a 12 months?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, anything that we do moving forward, along with the Boys and Girls Club, a 12-month, that just gives everybody the ability to see how it works for the first year. And if things don't work out, then obviously we can switch and move different directions. That's not just for the use of the gym at the community center, but obviously, you know, anybody that's going to come in and rent and or lease long-term. So.
I think it sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you.
So do we need to make some kind of motion to approve?
To approve that. Yep.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the Indy Sharks proposal for the community center gym.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Heath. Okay, so council has discussed adopting an ordinance to establish a designated outdoor refreshment area, DORA. And we are going to discuss the Survey Monkey results. Andy going to present that, or is anybody going to present it?
I tried to
He
get,
did all the work. He should present it, right? Well, yeah, we just seen this tonight, so I don't know. Looks like it's pretty good. I mean, everybody seems to be pretty much in favor of
Just
looking.
for the audience, we did a survey. We put out a survey to the business owners. I think it was 21 responses. It was sent out to restaurant, retail, property contacts throughout the downtown district. 21 responses. It was from August 13th to August 19th. It was just a survey asking if they knew about the possible DORA, if they had any questions about it, et cetera. We were just trying to find out who, if we were discussing this, we wanted to know if people were actually interested in it. Because if they weren't, then, it doesn't make any sense. But sounds like, looks like there is some interest. The majority. I think we probably just need to look this over, right? And take it. You guys have anything about it?
Or will the results be made public, or like will they be posted anywhere, or should we read them out somewhat?
I can read them. I don't care.
Go ahead, Ryan.
All right. Question number 1 was, are you aware of the proposed designated outdoor refreshment area in our community? It looks like 12 were fully aware. 8 or 3.
3.
3 had heard something about it and weren't sure, and 6, it was new to them. So it looks like 57% of the businesses had heard about it, 28% had not, and 14% didn't really know a lot, but had kind of heard something about it. And question number 2 was, would your business be interested in participating in the designated outdoor refreshment area initiative? We had another 11, yes, definitely interested. 7 possibly interested, 3 not interested. So it looks like 18 of the 21 responses showed a lot of interest. And I could see how it wouldn't benefit all businesses. So, I mean, I could see how it wouldn't be 100%. What benefits do you believe the designated outdoor refreshment area would bring to your business? Select all that apply. Number 1 was increased foot traffic, 8. 50% of the responses thought that would increase. Enhance customer satisfaction, 8 responses. Opportunities for special events, 11. Improve visibility and exposure, 8. And then there was just an other category that was 4. Question number 4 was, do you have any concerns about the implementation of the designated outdoor refreshment area? 9 have concerns, 12 do not. So it looks like close to a 50-50. And then it does ask to list your concerns. So here's a list of what some of the concerns were. Explain what it changes. Of course, more information on the, would be required. What is it going to look like? I did some research after getting this email. I like how Noblesville is set up. Next response was, I don't know what it is. Cost to business owners for signage, cups, wristbands, confusion to customers with who's participating and where the boundaries are, police enforcement. I think those are fair questions. Next one says, this is really necessary if we keep things the way that they are. People can be responsible adults. Would the town be responsible for marketing the DORA areas? As a clothing store, I do not want customers bringing food or beverage into my location. I do not understand the big hype. I can see if there's an event happening on Main Street, but other than that, I do not feel it's necessary. Would like to view the map, would like a better understanding, would like to better understand the target reasons for adoption of the program, have concern about individual business responsibility as determined by the town regarding locations that serve alcohol. What are the projected issues that may arise? What safeguards are available to residents living in the district? Will the TOF more restrictively administer the program through ordinances if approved by the state? What economic studies cited by other cities with this program? That's not real great grammar, but And I see the benefit. I don't know what the draw would be. However, purchase a drink and walk up and down the street. Is the park included? So these are just people's, thoughts, random, I think. And then question number 5, would you be willing to collaborate with other local businesses to promote the designated outdoor refreshment area? Yes, 8 said they definitely would. 9 said maybe, just need more information. 4 said not interested. And the last question was, what type of support or resources would your business need to successfully participate in the DORA? First was that they just need more information. Next was the support and resources will depend on Fortville's execution of the ordinance and proposed usage. There was a not sure answer. I think all businesses just need to understand what it is and what the rules and limitations are so we can communicate to our customers what it actually means. There was a none. I don't know what this one means, but it just says taxpayer. Some kind of breakdown of the laws that would change local and statewide, maybe a pamphlet or one pager. I thought this was a good question, but best identified in outside vendors with off-site licensing could potentially affect brick and mortar businesses, as do food trucks during grassroots events. Would like to see a roundtable discussion about safeguarding brick and mortar businesses since they pay directly or indirectly into local, township, TIF, and county tax base, whereas outside vendors pay simply for food and beverage permits, if obtained. And always interesting when you get the ATF involved. I need to look further into it. So those look like the concerns, some very fair, I think, of questions that would need to be answered. I think a lot of it would root with just more information. Obviously everybody feels better about things when they have more information and a better understanding about it. So that's what it sounds like to me, but it sounds like there's interest.
I don't know where you go from there. I think that's a good survey to find a response, but I don't know if, I don't know how you want to proceed with maybe coming up with some of this information or getting the businesses together maybe as a whole, maybe, and have that roundtable discussion about it.
Or invite any of them to hear, to a council
Yeah.
meeting in particular, that they can, voice their concerns to the public. I think that would be a good idea.
We could make it a public meeting too.
Yeah,
Wouldn't have
Like
to
a
be-
sure, a separate
Yeah.
public meeting, sure,
Yeah.
whatever.
I think that's what we'll do. Anybody have an opinion out there? Want to voice their opinion? Yes. Please, yeah.
Hi, I'm Brad Kloffenstein. Today must be your Chamber of Commerce day because I'm president of the Greater Lawrence Chamber of Commerce, but I'm also president of the Indian Licensed Beverage Association. Just talking about the DORA, unless Hancock County or Fortville already has an open container law in place, I would highly recommend you don't do a DORA because you can already do everything that a DORA encompasses without tying your hands. Indiana does not have any specific open container law. So unless there's a local ordinance that prohibits it, people can already do that. If you do a DORA, then suddenly you have to designate a district. You have to obligate all your retailers to buy cups. You have to design a cup. You have to purchase cups. You have to provide cups. You then have to enforce the area. People are not allowed to bring outside beverages into that designated area. So you could never do anything like they do at Conner Prairie, where people are just allowed to bring their own into an event. So I would highly recommend you don't do it unless you absolutely have to, and then just come up with a marketing plan and encourage people and say, hey, you can have open containers in downtown Fortville, designate an area that you're going to promote. But I would suggest not doing this just because, like I say, it ties your hands bad. And it does put you at the mercy of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. So there's nothing that a DORA is going to allow you to do that you couldn't already do already. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You want me to address that?
Yeah, would you?
Not exactly accurate on what the law does. Open container, as we've discussed in several meetings, is something completely different than what the DORA allows as far as privileges for restaurants to allow customers to purchase a cocktail or a beer, an alcoholic beverage, not more than two, and leave the establishment with that, and then go into another restaurant or into a festival area that has a license. So it is different. It allows a different set of privileges. We've talked about that. So open container does not, address what the council is considering for this. You don't have to provide cups. We've talked about that as well. It's a may. There's a prohibition on glass containers. Some communities choose to have cups. Again, we've talked about that. What else did he bring up? Fritz?
Like right now, I can, if I'm a resident, I could take a beer out of my house
Mhm.
and walk through town.
Right, and the
But
DORA
then-
doesn't affect that.
It doesn't, so I can still walk into the door area as a resident. Okay.
Now, under current law, you can't take your beer into
A
a restaurant,
No,
right?
No,
Um,
not
you can't
personally.
do
did it.
that.
No, but right now you could take a beer from home and walk to Landmark Park.
You-
And just walk around if you
Well,
want.
no,
to,
because you
no?
can't drink
Can't
in
walk
Landmark.
into, that's right, you can't drink in Landmark Park.
Walking around the street.
You can, Chief Bratton's down there nodding and saying that all of those things. I mean, it invites perhaps a conversation with one of our police officers. And if they decide that you are a danger to yourself or someone else, then you get public in-tax and maybe other things. But as far as, people like to throw around open container law, that's when you're in your car. Not when you're, tailgating at a football game or walking to your buddy's house with a beer.
I mistakenly was just making what I thought were examples of, I think I was just trying to get to the same question that
Yeah.
Fritz was asking. What changes, what stays the same?
What brought this up is when we had the NFL, the Super Bowl here, and everybody's wondering, what do you do about cocktails? And it was basically, you can have an open cocktail downtown and walk in and out, but you can't just buy a beer inside. It's gotta be in a sealed container. If you're gonna
Well,
buy a beer, if they got a carryout license, but it has to have the cap on it, right?
That's something different as well.
Okay.
That is a change in the law that
Well-
allows to-go cocktails. And you're right, it has to be a sealed container with no straw holes.
Yeah.
There's a limit on the quantity, but
Right.
again, that's something different than the DORA as well.
Right, and then what was the other thing so we this came up a few years ago when the guys that had the cruise in, and they wanted hey, can we have one beer while we're here for like 3 hours? And the chief goes, yeah, but please put it in a cup. Don't stand out there with a beer bottle in your hand, but it is legal to sit at a cart thing and consume a beverage. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
So let me understand, as far as the door goes, does that then allow you to walk into a restaurant with your own beverage?
No.
Not if it was
Okay.
purchased at
It needs to be
it
purchased.
has to be purchased at an establishment that's participating in the door.
Yeah.
Then you
Okay.
can.
That's
So
right.
you could buy a drink at one restaurant, walk next door.
If they're both
Correct.
participating.
If they both.
So if the beer's
participate.
cheaper next door, then you're sitting over here and drinking the cheaper beer from next door. I don't know how much some of the business owners appreciate that, but
But they
you
can
don't
also
have
say that they don't
You
want
don't have
that
at a
one.
time.
Yeah,
But they can also not do it.
yeah,
You
you
know-
can only come in with one.
It would be like Bourbon Street in New Orleans or Sixth Street in Austin. And if you've been to those places, that's what it would be like. And I'll just leave it at that. That's what it's like. You take a to-go cup and you wander around. And then you get another to-go cup at another place. I mean, those are like major famous cities that have this, right? So that's essentially what it would be like.
I think it was just something that just passed like in the state of Indiana, right? Like as
That's,
to
Yeah.
July 1st
Of 23.
of 23,
Last year.
yeah, last year. So I think Noblesville has adopted one,
There are several.
or
commu-
yeah, there's Carmel, there's been some.
So maybe another thing, as the council's considering this, reach out and talk to some of these communities that have established and see, because it is easy to come up with all of these worst case scenarios. There will always be someone who takes advantage of a situation but to see what their experience has been, and has it been, something that's benefited or been a problem, what changes. I mean, because there are a number of communities that have had these DORAs in place for a while. I've worked with several of them. And my understanding is that they're, going pretty well. And as we've discussed, every community is different. Fortville is not obviously Carmel or any other place, it's Fortville. And you have the complete authority to revise, revoke, change the DORA and, the hours and the things that we've been talking about over the last several meetings. You have control of that. It really is just, it's designed as an economic development tool to really kind of focus more on festivals, but it can be open, year round, and, you pick your, again, you've got the authority to do it. So.
See, again, I was surprised that Carmel didn't have that. I lived in Carmel for 3 years, and I thought when we started discussing it that they had that because of the rail trail, the Monon,
No.
but they didn't have that. So I'm sort of confused about what they've changed too. Because there was the beer joint on the Monon where everybody's just wandering around every which way with beer. So I'm surprised they didn't have that.
But I don't know.
That's
I
how
mean,
it was. I used to jog up
Right,
and down
so
the Monon
people-
every day.
Right, and people don't always make the right decisions. People can sneak by security. People don't maybe.
Yeah, I don't like to
abide by the law.
broadcast the fact that you can walk around with your.
But they do have the DORA in place now, and, to cover that area. And I think probably for that reason.
Okay. I think we should do a little bit more research. I'd like to get in touch with some of those
Yeah.
towns that haven't and just see what the response is. We might not be big enough for it. We might not. I mean, I just had people approach me, and that's why we got into this discussion about it. It wasn't, I just didn't pull it out of a hat and say, let's talk about it. I had a couple businesses approach me, so that's the reason for looking into it. So
It's interesting.
we'll continue to research and let everybody know what we come up with.
And just for reference, that survey went to business owners, right? Not,
Yeah.
it wasn't like the whole general public.
No,
it was
no,
the business
businesses.
owners.
Is that who's gonna-
Retail property contact throughout the downtown business district. Well, I think the way that works now is like the restaurant that is, or whatever, the food truck or whatever it is that's setting it up has to have a boundary, and no one can leave that boundary once they purchase a drink. Whereas with this,
Right, those permits go to excise prior to, and then
Yeah.
they come to me for sign off, and we have to review plans, and then excise is the ultimate approval of that, because they take care of the alcohol and tobacco part of it in Indiana.
But you have to stay inside that room.
Yeah, generally, there's plus and minuses to anything. If you're gonna be responsible about anything, you're responsible, but you always get, those people that aren't, and that's why I stay employed. So, I mean, you know how it is. You're gonna get the good with the bad, and generally when we have events, we don't have a lot of problems. Occasionally we might have one or two per event that we try to deal with out of sight, out of mind, so nobody sees it, and we move on. Generally, yeah. Most people come to the events to have a good time, and some people tend to overconsume and make a mess of themselves. If the council approves it in their,
not their own though. It has to be an approved.
right,
Yeah.
if people are to buy it, they have to be approved through but the council can change the ordinance for the day for that event to say, yes, we're allowing alcohol in the park.
Okay, so we'll do a little bit more research, come back with that information and continue on that way. Next up, we have Joe.
Okay, I don't have much for you this evening. I will let you know that I'm gonna try to get Dave here at the next council meeting to discuss a a proposal he's got with the water towers as far as ongoing maintenance. He's foreseeing some maintenance coming up and the cost is going to be pretty significant over the years. So if he gets on a maintenance program, that really helps us out as far as budgeting and everything, but I really want him to be here to explain it. He gave it to me and asked me to bring it forward, but I thought, I'm gonna have you bring it in case they have any questions that I can't answer. But other than that, that's, I don't have anything unless you got anything for me.
Anything for Joe? Adam, you got anything for us?
Nothing for me unless you have any questions on anything.
Keith?
I don't have much other than just a reminder that I think probably everybody knows Cammie's causes this weekend.
Yeah.
So we'll be helping out where we can with that. Relatively speaking, they pretty much do everything, but just giving them access to the electrical boxes and those type of things. I believe they're setting up some stuff Friday evening and then obviously Saturday as well. So they do have their, somebody brought it up. Anytime, this is not an us thing. This is a Department of Homeland Security thing, an A&E permit, which involves anytime you've got a temporary stage or tents or anything like that, we get one for Summerfest, we get one for Winterfest. They've gotten theirs for Cammie's cause this weekend, so they're good to go as far as we're concerned on their end with having the permit from Department of Homeland Security. So that's all I've got.
Should be fun.
Yep, thank you.
I have a
Do you happen
question.
to have, I'm sorry, do you happen to have a list of like barricades or anything that's needed for that event?
No, I'm gonna I got with Kenny in the street
Okay.
department
Okay.
today. I didn't know if Brian had left him a list.
He
It
did not.
sounds like he did not, so I will get with Cammie's Cause people and see if I can't get a list for street closures and make sure that street guys get those out probably Friday.
Thank you.
So, yep,
I have two questions.
yes, ma'am.
One is the patio, the alley, and like the gazebo, anything that has string lighting. Is that your responsibility to like change light bulbs or make sure they're working?
I think it's just kind of been a collaboration.
Is it you or the street? I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, whoever gets to it.
Do you have lights that are out that you
Well,
want to
I
address?
just need people to check on them. please.
Okay.
Yeah, with the evenings coming earlier, it would be nice to have that alley lit up. And I don't know if it's working or not. So if we can look at that.
Have you guys, it's on the timer, right?
I mean, that's the first I've heard of it. Nobody's reported it, so
I'll,
our guys aren't usually out at night, so they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Like that,
Either.
but-
Go to
we'll
prayer.
check the timer. Is that a timer or an eye? Okay, we can cover up the eye and see if they pop
It's
on.
probably got a GFI on it as well. It could be kicked out with some.
Very well could. Okay.
And then I was asked about the park over at is it Vernon North. Is that the new neighborhood that's over there on your way to the high school?
Mount Vernon North.
Mount Vernon North. Is it done? Like, is it?
That would be an Adam question. I do
Oh,
not
okay.
know the answer to that.
I can comment on that really quickly. As a matter of fact, hold on, let me. The original plan for that park out along 200 West was to at least have a portion of it to be manicured grass.
Right.
And it's generally the northern part of the area, right as you drive into the subdivision. The developer, for whatever reason, I think originally just planted like a winter grass, and then they haven't really been maintaining it very well. And it hadn't been an issue when there weren't many people living out there, but now there are. And more importantly, that particular section of the subdivision is all finished. So I had asked them a year ago, what's the status on this? And they said, we'll get back to you. They never did. And coincidentally, I sent an email on Friday saying to the same person, and I copied a few other people, hey, what's the status on this? What we're trying to achieve is the area right as you drive in, like to see that all manicured and then plant some trees around it. And then the remaining areas would still be kind of natural vegetation. Now, so that's hopefully a work in progress. And then lastly, the second issue related to it is who would maintain the park? I think at one time, we, as a community, had talked about doing it as a community park. Then there have been other thoughts about just having it as an HOA park. There are pros and cons to doing either, but I think that's an open question. It's from what I remember in the past is I don't think they had any issues with transferring that over the town. It was just, is the town willing to accept that and do we want to maintain it? So the bottom line is, I think for after the area is manicured up there, then what do we want to do? Do we want it to be a town park or keep it HOA property? It's up to you guys, really. And Heath and what his capacity is of staff to be able to handle it. Or it could be a combination of both, meaning maybe it's an HOA park for a few years until the Parks Department gets a little bigger and they can take it over.
One thing that I would recommend though, is there's, in that wooded area, there's a lot of dead and hazardous trees.
Yeah.
We need to get them to clear those up before we.
Well, and I
if we
think that
take it.
was the general conversation, particularly with Adam, and I think you a little bit too, Joe, was we don't want to take that over until everything from kind of the to-do list is done, from the manicured side to the dead trees to, this past year, they've gotten quite a few wildflowers in there, which is actually really pretty when you drive past it with the black-eyed Susans and stuff like that. But there's also some invasives in there as well that probably need to be pulled or handled a little bit. So a lot of it just depends on what the developer, I'm going to guess, is willing to do, and whether or not we're willing to accept it prior to them finishing that stuff up.
And
So,
out of curiosity, since we're on the subject, is let's say they were, let's say sometime this year, before the fall, they're able to do that and they're able to manicure a portion of it and cut the dead trees down. Do you have enough manpower to be able to cut the grass over there or maintain it, or do you want to defer that?
I mean,
What's your advice?
we'll make it work if we need to. From a maintenance standpoint, it's not too terribly much if we can keep the majority of that in the native grasses and maybe cut a couple of, just mow a couple of interpretive trails through some of that areas. I also know it's very low wetland. It's a flood zone. So I don't even know if that's necessarily feasible, but they do have the sidewalks. I guess the question then would be, where's that transition between HOA ground and park ground? Meaning you've got the asphalt running through some of that back up into the woods. Is there a stopping point at which it hits the neighborhood that becomes HOA and common ground versus park?
Yeah, that's a good point. We'd have to think through that.
I think
too.
that was subdivision was complete, or all the paperwork was signed before we all came on the council. Could you just look that up, what was said, previously before we signed the developer on, so we know exactly what was said about the park? Because it seems like we're just guessing here.
Well, what I would
what
say
was
is whatever
exactly said.
was said would have been said over a course of a variety of meetings. That would take quite a bit of research and looking at the minutes, figuring out which meetings and what I would recommend is after the improvements are made, because that was all solidified by the plans. in
Yeah,
terms of
that's what I mean.
they
What
were
was
gonna-
that?
Yeah, the plans
What
are
was
all
the original
set.
plan?
I can tell you that the area that is, so there's an east-west path that goes through that area. The area north of there, that was supposed to be manicured grass and trees. And then the rest was just supposed to be
I think he's
native-
talking about more the
native
ownership of it.
But in terms of
Yeah.
the ownership of it, I would say that's, we'll have those discussions with the developer to see if anything's changed in their mind, but I think, from what I remember, they'd be willing to transfer that to the town. It's just a
Right.
matter of, do we want it?
Okay.
And
That was the
can
way
we-
I remember.
I
it,
can't
too, back
remember
when it
the
was approved, it
conversation if
was-
their HOA was
they were
gonna take
open.
care of it or, okay, I just want to know what.
Yeah,
the-
and like I
what
said,
the
I mean, there's
wording
pros
was.
and cons to both. If it, just really quickly, obviously, if it was a town park, it's open to anybody technically.
Yeah.
If it's HOA, it's technically only open to
Right.
those residents, but then again, who's really checking those things? I mean, so like I said, there's pros and cons. I think probably what everybody wants at the end of the day is something that looks good and
Right.
something where kids can throw around the football or the frisbee, and there's plenty of space to be able to do that without causing any issues. So,
Adam brings up a good point, though, with the fact that if it is a public park, is there, I don't know the answer to this question, is there parking over there for somebody to drive in and just park and not be in the street?
no, there really isn't. There's not a lot of parking. The only other thing is, I mean, in theory, you could park at the pool area, but again, that's private property.
Yeah, it sounds like
too,
Access
so-
about
it doesn't
trail.
benefit the
Yeah.
town to take it on if there's no parking.
Yeah, I know they do have a company right now. I believe it's ProCut that does all of their current landscaping and management over there. And I know that because it's who we utilize for fertilization and stuff like that. But, you know, as far as, I'm not necessarily concerned about the maintenance of the property because it sounds like it's not going to be a huge chunk that would have to be manicured. It's the
Right.
question more is that a quote unquote public park at that point in time? And, you know, I don't live in the neighborhood, but I would imagine people in the neighborhood who also like, we don't want people in here that, you know, there's the other side of that too. That's like.
Most HOAs take care of those parks
Right.
though, and that's part of your fees for an HOA. So to me,
Yeah.
it feels more like an HOA thing and not a town thing.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
In my, and the residents will be the ones to go to the HOA and complain if they don't keep up with it. So I think that's probably the best way to,
Well, I
approach it.
remember sitting in the meetings
Yeah.
on that side and hearing about this development. And I thought it was a really good idea because it's the swampy, whatever area, that they were going to make it into this grassy park. It's right on the trail, right? Like, can't you just get to it right off of the trail?
Correct.
To me, it's just a natural whenever it connects from town and I get to walk that way. It would be a nice little addition to a walk to go back there. I don't know how big it is though. And
Pretty good size.
Yeah, what is cool is actually, as part of this most recent phase that they put in, section 4A and 4B, which is out near Fortville Pike. Coincidentally, I walked it today. They did put in an asphalt path that goes through that wooded area. It's an HOA path, but it's pretty neat. You could walk all the way from 200 west, through the path system.
Yeah,
But
I've
again,
seen-
they're all technically.
I've seen people out there that live on the other side of Fortville Pike crossing over to walk through, and I love it. I love the idea. And one of my favorite parks in Hancock County over in Greenfield is that Beckenholt.
Definitely.
I love it. And that's what it feels like to me, or what it sounds like it would be like a little bit.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be a nice addition, a different kind of park. It doesn't seem like it would be as much maintenance maybe, but I don't know. I'm not that. I have somebody take care of my yard, so I have no idea. I make it sound so easy. But I would like the town to have it and maintain it. That's my personal opinion.
I don't see a benefit for the town to have it because you can walk it now. If you're in the town, you can walk down there and walk that trail system, but there's no park equipment there or nothing. You're just adding something onto the town
I think
that
it's total,
HOA could take care of.
it's around 30 acres, just so everybody's
Yeah.
got kind of perspective. I think it's somewhere around 30 acres. Don't hold me to that exact number, but looking at the parcels, I believe it's somewhere around 30 acres included, kind of with the woods and then
That sounds about right.
that open area, 28 to 30 acres, I believe.
I guess I look at it too, like, if I were to walk on it and an HOA were to say, this is our property, you can't be on it. That bothers me. I would like to have that choice to be able to walk through it. But I walk through everybody's neighborhoods anyway, and nobody's yelled at me yet, so I haven't seen you guys yell at me.
And there is, I want to make everybody aware too, from a cost standpoint, obviously, it would probably be a little bit less maintenance. But when you do things like Beckenholt, you do have some typically annual to biannual costs of burning. Because the best way to do that from a vegetation, from a health standpoint for those native grasses and wildflowers is to pay somebody to come in and burn them. And I'll be honest with you, I tried that on a small hill and I am not qualified to do that. And so, we would have to pay somebody. It's not a cheap expense to have somebody come in and burn grass. And then obviously let it regenerate from there, but that would be a cost associated with, even though it seems like it's not, hey, we're not mowing this every week. There's still a cost associated with the upkeep and trying to make sure that you're getting the right wildflowers in there and the right native grasses versus invasives and weeds and things like that. So
Who's to say if their HOA has it, they're going to maintain it and keep it nice?
Yeah, that's the tricky thing. Sometimes they
But
do.
that's where the residents, they can
You know.
complain. They're paying. the
Did we
fees.
do, remind me on the status of the parks plan? We have one, right?
Yeah.
That was adopted recently, I think last year, wasn't it adopted?
it was earlier this spring, May-ish, sometime around there.
Maybe we could always refer back to that to see how it dealt with those kind of scenarios of acquiring parkland or what the goals of the park systems are. I know just generally speaking from a planning perspective, and I'm sure the parks plan says something similar, is that the parks, it's almost like a portfolio of parks in your municipal system. And they should be spread out geographically. They should be spread out in terms of different functions that they have, different vibes that they have. So every park might be a little bit different. So if you think of it, is it something that we want to have as part of our portfolio or not? Pros and cons, I think.
Well, in our space from a parks perspective, unless there's annexation to out and around, I don't know that there's anywhere really inside the town limits. There's not a lot of land, I guess, for expansion, from a parks perspective is concerned. I don't know where the county's at. I know at one point in time, the county was talking about putting together a parks board. Joe, you may know more information about that, maybe not. They were talking about doing a county parks board / plan. So yeah, I don't know if they're looking at picking up unincorporated areas of Hancock County, whether it's Greenfield, Fortville, those areas. I know the county comprehensive plan kind of shows, and I know this because it involves like where we live, but kind of that whole corridor down along 200 with green space and stuff like that. I don't know if that's a county parks deal or what, but we don't have much opportunity within the current town limits to really get property to do any kind of parks, maybe a couple pocket parks here and there. But again, like, not Flat Rock, the neighborhood right next to it, they've got that small little pocket park right inside there. Obviously that's maintained by I'm assuming maintained by their HOA and whatnot. So.
Okay.
Any other questions for me?
I have none.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Heath.
Thank you.
Patrick?
We escorted Blazer 88 this weekend. It was a good ride for everybody. They raised some money for our disabled vets. And then we'll have the Cammy's Cause ride this weekend that we'll be escorting out to Lynn to the family farm like we always do. Looking forward to that. That's always a fun time. Other than that, I have nothing unless you have questions of me.
I don't have any. Thank
Okay.
you.
Missy, do you have anything for us?
I do not unless you have something for me.
Alex?
Same as Missy.
Okay. Any public comment? Come on up, Mary Beth. Give it to us.
Hi, Mary Beth and Oak Ridge. I just want to publicly thank Heath and all those that helped him with the July festival. I had to go back the next morning to look for a hearing aid, and the place was spotless at 9 a.m. And I couldn't believe it. So thank you. I mean, you don't get credit for some things, but that's a big deal. The place was amazing. And then secondly, right behind you all, I watched a town council meeting from your last one on YouTube, and you all were talking about rebranding. And I kept thinking, well, it's right there behind you guys. Why don't you just use that? I think that'd make a perfect flag just take the town council off and the other, I mean, you use it on your,
Letterhead.
yeah, so that's just a thought I had.
Yeah.
That's it.
Good thought. Thanks,
Thanks
Mary
for
Beth.
watching the video.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's actually, we use that same symbol on our street signs and it's gonna be on the
Right,
sign out front.
right.
So
Yeah.
it's on pretty much everything except we don't have a flag.
Well, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Anybody else? Okay. Council. Libby,
I don't have anything.
Brian,
Me neither.
I'm good. Vanessa?
Hi, all. I've been doing some research about HB 1183. That is the Indiana legislature's bill banning China-owned companies from buying land, agricultural land and any land within 10 miles of military bases. I've been doing some research about it. I'll just kind of give like a preview. But I'm interested in exploring whether it's possible to extend that bill, which took effect on July 1st, to a town level ordinance to say, no China-owned companies can buy land in this town. And so I've spoken with Alex. He brought up some good questions, and I've been doing some research, and I would like this topic to be on the next meeting's agenda for discussion, because I really feel strongly about this. It's a national security issue. And it's also a financial issue. At the last meeting I brought up, BWI down in Greenfield. They were barely open for 5 years. They're only operational for about 2 years. They got $11 million in incentives, and then now they're closing and leaving. And China-owned companies, American subsidiaries, they report to the Chinese parent company, and those companies are tied in with the CCP. So, Hancock County gave some portion of $11 million just away to the CCP. I've tried to find out how much of that 11 million was tax abatements versus just cash money. There's no record in the public domain of that. I queried a consultant that helped negotiate that sum, and they declined my request because they said they have an NDA with BWI. So I'm in the middle of making a public records request to find out about that, because that's Indiana taxpayer money, that just evaporated away to China. So there were no permanent jobs that came out of that. They're just closing. They just showed up, took our money and left. So it's a national security issue, and it's also a financial issue. And if we have a proper discussion about it at the next meeting, I could share some more with you all. I've been speaking with county councilors from around the state about how these deals go down, how they wind up with these Chinese companies, China-owned, I should say, CCP-aligned China-owned companies. I think there were some revelations. So these places are not exactly asking for these businesses to show up, and they don't even know that these are the businesses that are showing up. And I would just hate for that to happen to us. And I'll just close this remark with a little case study that there's a tiny township up in Michigan of population 3,200, so just a little smaller than us. And they unwittingly or wittingly brought in a Chinese company, Goshen. The people of that township got upset and recalled their entire town board, which, by the way, is not possible in Indiana. I looked it up, but that's on the books in Michigan. Their township recalled their entire board and voted in a new board of people who promised to drive out that Chinese company. And now that $40 billion Chinese company is suing that township for breach of contract. So these are the things that can happen, aside from just giving away taxpayer money or giving away national security, threats. Also, your own town could actually be sued. And so that was really an eye opener for me. So I'd like to have a little more discussion about that at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any comment. Thank you.
Need a motion to approve and sign vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve and sign vouchers.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:37.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you all for coming.
That. Thank you.
For the water, whoever.
Pat.
We're gonna play water roulette tonight. I'm gonna fill one of my box and rest of water to see.
I usually don't drink it, drink this, tastes like beer.